Good evening, folks. Once again, this is a read through of the Bible and my reactions to it as a what I what I humbly call myself an average Christian. Just giving my reaction and thoughts to it. My name's Stuart Davis. I am a self-admitted flawed man. I am a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not trying to get you to join my congregation or donate to a special cause. What I'm doing is outreach, exposure, letting you know that that being a Christian does not mean becoming some you know humorless prude or something that you would not want to be, but that we're average people. We have our average struggles, and we're all trying to work our way through it and become better people and become closer to God. Because ultimately, what we want to see is salvation. And we not only want it for ourselves, but we want it for for those of us around us, and as many people as we can reach out to. So, if you're interested in Christianity, that's what I'm here for. I'm reading through the Bible. We're still very early in the end of the Bible. We're still in Genesis. We're at the beginning of Genesis, actually. And what we're doing at this point, we just finished Adam and Eve getting kicked out of Eden because of the apple. So most of the things that you've already that's already transpired, you may already know of just from common knowledge in our culture, just knowing the story to a degree. But I also advise and recommend go back and read the other ones if you're not familiar with the Bible. If you have some thoughts, go back and read or not read, but watch and read along in the Bible if you'd like to, and just give me your thoughts on things, and hopefully you're taking something away from it. So, like I said, we ended last night with with Adam and Eve being kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and Adam's just going to have to work very hard to provide for the family that he now has to start, and Eve has her position as a woman, that it's she is more of the domestic, as probably the way we look at it, the housewife portion of things, and they're on their own now. God's still looking after them, but they're not in the paradise that they were in, and life's going to get hard for them. But we're going to see them start their family, and the next chapter is Cain and Abel. So again, not things that are not very unknown to folks. The story of Cain and Abel is very well known beyond the confines of Christianity and Judaism. But we're going to go over it because just understanding the little bit of the story doesn't mean you know everything that's going on in the account in Genesis. So we're going to start there. Just letting you know, the website that I'm using is what I normally recommend to everybody, even if you're using a cell phone. It's BibleGateway.com. Easy to search for. I find it better to use than any of the apps that I've been through, just so that you can navigate through it better. It's very easy to get through, and it's amazing amount of translations, and it just works, which is really all that you're asking out of an app or website. But lots of good tools and tips, and I highly recommend using that to follow along, unless you've got your own Bible, which is something you also may want to invest in. But this is free. This is free and easy to reach because pretty much everybody's got a smartphone these days, and that's what it is. That's what the Bible should be: easy to access, and we should appreciate that because it wasn't always that way. Anyway, so I'm going to pop this up in the share screen portion. Let's see if it pops up. Yep. And here we go. All right, chapter 4. Cain and Abel. Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, "With the help of the Lord I have brought forth a man." Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. It hurt both times because God said it would hurt, because this is all the point of labor pains. Now Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of soil as an offering to the Lord, and Abel brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain, his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Okay, so they're both bringing offerings of what they're working for, as thanks, as tribute to God, to say, hey, we appreciate the things that you provide us with, and for bringing us into existence. Here's some of what we got. But the difference here is, what we notice, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering. So maybe just he brought something like, oh yeah, I got some extra potatoes here, God. Here, have some extra potatoes. Make the best French fries that there ever were, because you're God and you can do all that great thing, those great things. Abel, on the other hand, is picking choice meats from his best livestock, and he's giving that as an offering to God. And God is very happy. It's the gesture that Abel is doing, that he appreciates. He's not saying that he doesn't like what Cain is doing. He's just not looking on it with favor. He's not impressed. And Cain's upset about that, because Abel's kind of one-upping him here. But it's not for anything that Abel's doing. Abel's doing the right thing. Cain's not. And Cain is embarrassed by it. Lord notices this, so we get into verse 6. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." He's telling you, look, there's no reason to be angry, and there's no reason to be upset with, and kind of what I tell my son when he's doing something, or when he's upset because he got in trouble for doing something. And I said, you got no one to blame here but yourself. And this is how you work on and improve yourself. And I don't say that to him in a way to beat him down. I'm doing it in a way that he says, hey, look, the problem is with your own actions. And the best way to fix this problem that you have is by understanding that it's your actions that are causing it. So if you stop, or if you start working to stop these things, it will stop. So God's just giving him that same information. Hey, you've done wrong, or you haven't done as well, but you're the reason that you're having this problem, so do better, and we won't have this problem. But not only that, what he's saying is, by showing this complacency and by getting upset by it, you're letting sin, you're giving sin a way into your heart, and our responsibility, because, and he's saying this to Cain now, because Adam has eaten from the tree of knowledge, or Adam and Eve have eaten from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So now that you have this responsibility, it is your responsibility to master that and not let sin rule over you. And that is not just true for Cain. It is true for all of us. It was true for Abel too, but Abel wasn't. At least in this instance, they're not saying that Abel was perfect. Abel just was doing the right thing here. But we all have this struggle where we have to do what we can to keep sin from permeating into our hearts. And some of us allow it, or some of us stumble and allow the sin to rule over us. And it does with Cain as we go into verse 8. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. That's a little bit of an overreaction. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he replied. "Am I my brother's keeper?" The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse, and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." So God comes in, he knows what's happened, and the first thing, and really all that Cain does is shrug. I mean, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Cain isn't overcome with guilt or shame. He's let sin have its way with him, and not just for a moment, where he has a momentary lapse and error, but to the point now where he doesn't even care about what he does. At least it doesn't seem like he does. And that's really that's a really big warning sign. God understands this, right? So he's like, look, I know what you did, and now here's your punishment. Now you're going to be basically banished from the land. You're never going to be able to settle down. You're not going to be able to work the crops that you used to work and have so much and get so much joy out of. You're doomed to wander. Picking up in verse 13. Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. But the Lord said to him, not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. Then the Lord put a mark on Cain, so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. So this is kind of a confusing part in Genesis, and I'm going to need to do some more research on this because I feel like that's appropriate to kind of do an addendum to this or a follow-up. Is Cain's worried about somebody coming and killing him? Well, from our account here, the only other people out there was Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. And Abel ain't around anymore. So is he worried about just Adam or Eve? Doesn't sound like it. Sound like there's more people. So I don't know. This is the metaphorical side of this. Where is the metaphor and the literal coming together? Or is it all metaphorical? Or is it all literal? What's going on? I've heard lots of good, interesting theories that have come out from folks' imagination or study, prayer, trying to understand this. And one of the coolest ones I've heard was that Adam and Eve kind of lived in this bubble, right? That was separated from in the Garden of Eden, was kind of separated in time and space. And as Adam and Eve were existing and ruling over their surroundings, the world was changing around them, and there were other people on the planet, and they were all existing and going through all these things. And then suddenly they're cast out, and now Adam and Eve, the original two, are now put out into the wilderness, where all these other people have been existing for thousands, millions, whatever, how many years. That's a cool outlook. I really like kind of the approach on that. I have no idea how accurate it is, but I would like to see. I'm always interested in people's thoughts on creationism and how it relates to God and how it affects kind of how they interpret Genesis. I want to be clear here. It is not, regardless of how this is all shaking out, it doesn't change the full crux of, or it doesn't change any part of the Bible being God created the earth, God created us, God loves us, and He wants us to love each other, and that's the point of us being together. So it is interesting to kind of theorize on these things, but don't get so hung up on this, on pondering creation, that you lose the point, or that you set yourself up on an obstacle that you can't overcome mentally, and then you stop believing, or you stop trying to pursue this. It's important to stay on this path. So, whatever you think is, whatever makes sense to you in this from this standpoint, if you're getting out of it what you need to get closer to God, roll with it. Because look, to me, at the end of the day, when you're in heaven and God goes, well, you had that wrong, but hey, I know you love me, and I know you've tried to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. It doesn't matter whether you thought Adam and Eve were literal people, or as some sort of fable, just trying to explain creationism to a primitive people. So don't get taught up here. That's the big part of this. And now we're going to close out chapter 4. It kind of slows down a little bit, but and there's going to be some names here. I'm going to murder some of these names, and so will you if you ever try to read them, unless you're way more talented at reading names like this than me. But try it and tell me how difficult it is. Anyway, Um, so we said Cain was cast out. Chapter 17. Cain made love to his wife. Again, where did she come from? Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was then building a city, and he named it after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael was the father of Methushael, and Methushael was the father of Lamech. Lamech married two women, one named Ada and the other Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal, and he was the father of those who live in tents and raise livestock. His brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all who play stringed instruments and pipes. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wife, Ada and Zillah, listen to me. Wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Adam made love to his wife again, and she gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, God has granted me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Seth also had a son, and he named him Enosh. And at that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. And that'll wrap up chapter 4. So if we want to wrap up these last 2 parts, or this last section, what we're seeing is, Cain moves on, and he does end up starting to build a city. He's not really wandering as much as he thought he was, and so it shows there's always room for redemption with God, if he doesn't destroy you outright, which we'll get to in some other parts. But if you are, as long as you are drawing breath, there is hope for you, and you just have to keep on keeping on. God told him to wander the earth, and he ends up actually settling down and starting a family to a degree. Now, it doesn't say whether he stays with the city after he leaves. He just starts building a city, names it after his son, and then the people start. And then his family starts growing from there, and then we get to the son of the son of the son of folks, which the Bible tends to do that from time to time. And one of his grandsons, great grandsons, or whatever, he comes in and he says he does something very similar to Cain, and he sounds like he's overridden with guilt with it. And not only that, Adam's still alive, and Eve is still alive, and they have another son, and his name is Seth. So we wrap it up at the very end. At that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord, and that is where we start to get folks really starting to worship God beyond just the original 2 and their two sons, making sacrifices to the Lord, or giving up tribute to the Lord for what they're working on. And so, stage is set. Like I said, Genesis keeps rolling. It is one of the, it is full of a lot of tales, a lot of accounts that you and I have heard of since we were kids, whether you grew up in the church or not. We have talked about Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, and next is Noah. Noah's Ark is coming up. But first, chapter 5 is going to be, it's going to be a lot of accounting. So I'll find some creative way of moving through that chapter, and so that we can get into the next account, which, like I said, Noah and God destroying the earth. Because he was fed up with the way people were acting and behaving. But Cain, we've got Cain here, first murderer in human history, and he is still able to find some sense of peace. It sounds like, which kind of shows you God's love and capacity for forgiveness and redemption is infinite, and if he can show mercy to the first murderer, he can show mercy for you for whatever it is that you do, if you honestly seek him out and ask for that forgiveness. Go ahead and do that if that's what's weighing on your mind right now. Otherwise, put it in your pocket, keep it in the back of your head for when you do screw up and you're really getting down on yourself. In the meantime, be safe, guys, and leave a comment. Subscribe if you'd like to. I'm doing these live streams. I'm still not getting anybody viewing, but that's not what I'm here for. That's not what these things are really here for. These here are here for anybody who wants to just look up and get this account. Be safe in the